Welcome to the MFS Wellness Podcast, a hybrid structure encompassing health, fitness, self-improvement, and entertainment, where no topic is off limits and all opinions are graciously welcomed.
Let's get on with the show!
And now, here's the host of the show, Mike Sinopoli.
This is the MFS Wellness Podcast. I am Mike Sinopoli. We are in September now. That means fall is a couple weeks away. Kids are back in school. And right now you might be throwing on those hoodies and getting ready for the pumpkin spice, the apple cider, the spooky shit, and all the other stuff that comes along with fall. It is a great time of year. Before I get into the main topic here that we're going to talk about, which is tipping, especially here in the United States, this new tipping culture that's kind of evolved over the last few years. We're going to get into that, but also I want to give you guys a tip, health and fitness related, that I have to do because that's what this is all about. So around this time of year, and this is something that I've learned myself from a lot of mistakes, a lot of errors, and a lot of frustration, is that if you are in a mode of caring about your health and how you look, how you feel, right now, this is a crucial time of year. And I say it every year because what happens now is summer is over and fall begins, like we said. And what that means is you're probably going to start not being outside in a bathing suit as much, wearing looser clothing, heavier clothing. It kind of lends itself to like being more idle as well. And we can really fall into a pretty bad pit for 4 months here and kind of go nuts with all the stuff coming out. Like we said, apple cider donuts start hitting. You got the pumpkin spice, everything that you'd like to try. And then, for the drinkers, you got these craft beers that show up and high calories right there. If you're into those fall, autumn style of beers that come out, that craft stuff, that adds up. Different parties start showing up. Candy around Halloween shows up. Thanksgiving, all these other things. But realistically, remember that these holidays are actually only like 4 or 5 days throughout the next 4 months. Totally acceptable to go ahead and eat whatever you want those days. But what happens is right now we start to throw in the towel and we wait till New Year's and make that resolution. And that's one of the worst things to do right now, because what happens is you go on a like a tirade on your body right now and just sort of go nuts and have that New Year's out there, that resolution out there that you're going to change your life. How many times have you done that? Because I've done that before where I've said that. And what happens is now you dig yourself into this shithole of now you got to crawl out of what you just did over the last 4 months, especially if you've been on like at least doing decent for the last like 8 months of the year. And now you're going to just say, you know what, screw it. I'll just revamp in 2025 and that's new year, new me. No, let's not do that, because it's so hard to go from nothing to everything, because that's what a lot of people do. They take the next several months and they do nothing. They're idle. They don't go to the gym. We're eating like complete garbage, even more so. And we're just sort of treating ourselves incessantly. And then we want to make that switch, that big flip at New Year. And we're not a different person at the New Year, no matter what. No matter what you plan you put in place, no matter how motivated you get in your head, man, it doesn't last. So never end, like never stop. Like right now, don't throw it in. Don't throw in the towel and hope for the new year, because if you gain 15 pounds over the next 4 months, you're going to have to crawl out of that 15 pounds. And healthy weight loss is 1 to 2 pounds a week. So anywhere between like March, April, even May, depending on how good you are at what you're doing, you might be back to baseline where you're at. And if you stop lifting weights and tracking your protein, you're going to probably lose some muscle mass as well, which deteriorates your body shape. And you're going to just be at a worse skeletal muscle mass to fat ratio and affecting your body composition. So like, just don't stop, especially if you're older, especially if you're like my age in your 40s and 50s and up. Your recovery time and everything it's different. It becomes different a little bit. Age is not an excuse, but there are some changes. Things are different. So please, that's my tip for the day. I think I've done a whole episode on this like a year ago, but I'm not going to go too much further into that. Just don't stop now. If you need help, let me know. And, you don't have to say, you don't have to let it be a dread to you. You can still do the fun things you like to do. Just let's not go too extreme. That's it. Okay. So let's try that out. Now to get into the main topic here of the episode today, which is tipping, the tip culture here in the United States. It's gotten a little strange lately. It feels as if we are being conditioned to start tipping just about everywhere we go. So I'm not a fan of it because I feel as if not every single profession needs a tip. And I was just like, at certain places, and I'll share the stories in a minute of what the hell, how are they asking me for a tip? Why is this job? Why do they need a tip from me? I don't understand it. But I was like, where does tipping even, or like, where did it start? Where did this whole thing start? Like, to me, in my head, I was always just like, a tip was always something that was when someone went above and beyond. Okay, somebody sort of just like, oh, they did their job, but they did a little extra, and then you got like compensated for that extra. And that's sort of where it started, because the practice of tipping actually began in Tudor England. In the medieval times, and tipping was a master serf custom wherein a servant would receive money for having performed superbly well. So it's kind of like an extra because you did your job better than expected. It was going above and beyond. It actually gave you that like incentive to go and do more and be more productive and do more things. So in a sense, that's cool. I like that. I think that's a great origin for that. But now, if you think about it, now it's almost as if like people are expecting a tip, entitled to it just for being there. I'm going to share a story real quick because I was in Minnesota at the Great Wolf Lodge doing Mall of America, that whole thing with my kids and my parents. Great Wolf Lodge has a Dunkin' Donuts within there, and the whole place is set up with kiosks, cashless, and you order any food or drinks or anything for the most part on a kiosk, and you type it in. Basically, you are doing the register. That's really what you're doing. They basically have said, here, you do this. We're not doing it. You do it. That's self-checkout. They're giving you the work to do, and they're not giving you any discounts. It's bullshit. But anyways, so I go up to this kiosk, and I'm getting some of those munchkins from there and coffee and such. But at the same time, I go through it. I put all my order in. I scan my wristband to pay, and then they say, would you like to leave a tip? 15, 18, 20%, whatever, custom. And I'm like, for what? I just did this. I ordered this. Okay, I did the order. And then I'm going to go and pick it up from this stand where they just put all the orders. So I said no tip. I said forget it, because like if you think about it, what the hell are they? What are we tipping for that for? We did everything. This person behind the counter is literally going to just go and do what they're paid to do by the large corporation and fill a box with little donut holes and then put them on a table for me to come and grab. That's literally all they did. They didn't even say my name. They just threw it there. And they want a tip for that? Jesus, no. And then it's also kind of becoming a little divisive in a sense and a little awkward, because now with these tablets, these iPads and everything like that, the registers themselves, they're bringing up a screen. So you have to go through that. And that differs to me from a tip jar, because with a tip jar, you used to sit there, obviously, when we were doing cash, you'd have to, you could pretend you didn't see it. You could say you didn't have cash, whatever. And you can maybe put less in there because you would just maybe throw your change in. But like now, you can't process and finish the order without selecting something. And a lot of times, unlike my experience at Great Wolf Lodge where I was manning the kiosk myself, a lot of times you are right in front of the person that's actually there handling things, like at a Starbucks or something like that. But there's an awkward little exchange there, because it was like, okay, well, I don't know if this is, all I did was order a muffin from the case, and all you're going to do is grab it and put it on the table here. And you want a 15, 20, 30% tip for that? I'm not going to do that. So then, you have that uncomfortable interaction during the transaction where you have to press that button that says no tip, look at them in the face and shrug your shoulders and say, just get my muffin. That's it. I'm sorry. But I think it's kind of like become, where it was kind of like a reward for doing more, it's kind of become an entitlement now. And it's also, I think, basically becoming this tool of companies not wanting to pay a living wage to their employees, and they're just throwing it to the consumer, which ultimately it hits the consumer no matter what, and no matter what they have to do to pay their people more. They have to raise their prices or whatever else they're going to have to do to compensate for that. So I get it. But at the same time, it's almost as if like, okay, so now I got to pay for this person's salary a little bit here. But it's going to hit us anyways, right? So I don't know. At least it gives us the choice, I guess, right? Like if we wanted to go somewhere, but they wanted to pay a higher wage to their employees, they'd have to raise all their prices, and we have no choice. I mean, I guess it gives us that decision. So kind of contradicting my own thoughts a little bit there. See, when you talk things out and you start thinking and you don't just hold your views so heavily, you can kind of see other sides to things. Well, maybe that's not that big of a deal for them to do that, but it does kind of like take the responsibility off of them to take care of their employees, and it puts it on the consumer directly. I don't know. It seems a little much. I mean, there are some countries too where they don't tip. It's actually considered rude to tip in Japan. Tipping is generally not practiced in Japan because the service charge is typically included in the bill. So they're already just putting it on there. Like in some places, you'll also go. Traditionally restaurants, they'll, if a part of your 6 or more, they'll just automatically add gratuity. I get it, I guess, but whatever. Tipping is considered embarrassing and awkward. It can make a receiver feel belittled or insulted. In Japan, exceptional service is considered part of the job, and employees take great pride in their work. I think that's great, and I think that is a thing, provided the the compensation is there. That's the bottom line. In Denmark, tipping is not required at restaurants because the staff receive substantial salaries and benefits. However, it's not considered rude if you round up the bill. Germany and Austria, I've been to both of those countries. In many establishments, you're only required to round up your bill a few euros. That makes sense. And I've been to Italy and, like I said, a few other countries out there, and that's really all you do. They're not the same. It's not the same service out there. That's why we can look sort of entitled as Americans when we go places, because we are conditioned to be in a society that's constantly moving so freaking fast. They don't move that way over there, and they're not working for their tips. So the service is very slow, intentionally, out in Europe in a lot of places. And that's a hard transition. So if you're never been and you're an American and you're used to this fast-paced thing and you need your food within 5 to 10 minutes, don't expect that over there. And don't expect your server to come and check on you every couple of minutes over there either, because they're more conditioned to be flagged down. Where here, in the U.S., we sort of feel like it's rude almost to flag down the server. It's just like, oh, well, I'm sorry, but I need a napkin. You know what I mean? So it's like one of those things. Like we're just like, oh, but like over there, you're supposed to. They expect that. That's how they want to do it, and that's just the way it is. And you don't tip very much. You do round up, and that's what I did. So that's the way it is over there. So we just here in this country in the United States, it's really gotten out of control, in my opinion. And it's too much. So I pulled up a few articles here too to kind of just like get some other thoughts as opposed to just my own. And this one here is from fastcompany.com and is titled, Is American Tipping Culture Out of Control? Here's how to handle tip creep. That's a new thing they're calling tip creep. And I mean, I think that's a good way to put it, because like we're creepily just taking money from us every which way with their service fees, convenience fees, all this other shit that's just kind of adding up and just nickel and diming us terribly. And I mean, if you think about it, yeah, you do. If you don't tip as much as they want you to, you're going to save a boatload of money over the year. It doesn't feel like a lot, but but it adds up, and that's why this is happening. And people are, where's my fucking money at? Blah blah blah. So here's what they've said in this article. Here are some things to consider amid an omnipresent demand for tips, because it's getting crazy out there. The touch screen is not your boss, they say. One sneaky factor behind Tipflation is the tablet touch screen with preloaded amounts. You might be given a few different options like 18, 20, 25, or even 30%. You do not have to do what the touch screen is suggesting. Okay, so don't be bullied by technology. I like that. There is typically a custom tipping button alongside those, even if business makes it hard to find. So enter a different amount. That's another way to go. So maybe you are like wanting to tip, but you think that like 20% to grab a muffin out of a case and put it on a counter is not worth it. Which maybe you can enter a custom amount, give something, and you'll save yourself a shit ton of money just by reducing the amount outside of the suggestions. So I kind of like what they're saying there, that the touchscreen's not the boss. They're not telling you don't have to pick one of those. So find the custom or say no tip. That's my opinion. And it's okay to say no, they say here. There's a lot of guilt and shame involved in these money moments. when there is a long line behind you, a lot of eyeballs on your behavior, and a barista who is staring in your face. You don't want to seem like a Scrooge. But if the situation does not call for a tip, or you just don't have the extra money to spread around, don't feel emotionally pressured into paying one just because you're afraid of what others might think. Damn fucking right. Just go ahead and say no tip and be okay. You'll never see these people again, most likely. Okay? This is most likely you won't. And whether you never go to the establishment again or there's a high amount of turnover, you're just, who cares? Just be like, oh, there's a guy that doesn't tip. But big deal. But you don't deserve the tip because it's not something that ever needed a tip. And I'll get into that later. And there's another article I'm going to share that gets into a little more of why we're at where we're at, and I'll get to that in a second. But the last thing it says here is to use your best judgment. Just because you are angry at all the requests for tips these days, do not let it affect your tipping across the board. Use your discretion about which situations truly call for it. When warranted, absolutely tip generously, which I agree with. Do you need to tip someone who punched you? I don't know. Who punched in your order on the touchscreen? No, because that's something you could have done yourself if given the opportunity. Exactly like I was saying over at Great Wolf Lodge, I actually did it, and they still asked for a tip. So that's like double insulting, because not only do I not want to tip somebody that just entered an order into a computer, but they made me do it and wanted a tip. Come on. Okay. But you do need to tip someone who cuts your hair, delivers your pizza, or serves your table. Probably, yes. They are kind of working for that, and that's the culture that we are just in. The tip should apply to something you are not able to do yourself. That's what I've always said myself. If I can't do it myself, then fine. Okay, I can't go behind the bar and make a drink. I just can't do it. That's not legal. Okay, so, and I get there's an argument because that is their job. Like, okay, that's what they're paid to do. But again, we know that the restaurant industry does not pay hourly very well, and we know that they're working on tips. So I think it's kind of quietly just accepted as, their little commission, that you pay and that we pay for them as we go. We've accepted that in society, and I think that's just fine. Okay, maybe I'm just conditioned for that, and I've worked in the industry before, so I get it. Because there is some motivation in working for your tips, so I get that, and it is exciting because some people like to do that because it's like, I'm in sales, so your commission adds up and comes on, and in a sense, tips are like that too. So it gives you a little motivation. Well, if I just go in there and bust my ass, I could work for my tips, and hopefully someone will recognize it and be ultra generous. So I get it, I understand it. Now I got another one here from NPR. This is to tip or not to tip. 3 reasons why tipping has gotten so out of control. And, this one really highlights some good things. And one of them, I didn't necessarily think about it, but it has been brought to my attention here. The number one reason why our tipping has gotten so out of control was this COVID scam pandemic thing that we went through. It goes back to the pandemic, it says here. We started tipping people we didn't use to tip. We started tipping more than usual as a way to support essential workers during a time of crisis. So as the pandemic went away, they said that, the expectations really didn't go anywhere. So that's what we did. Remember when everything was like, oh, support your essential workers, give them a little extra, keep these guys in business. Let's go. Come on, help them with their salaries. Let's all come together here. Yeah, we did. And now here we are with this excessive tipping that never went anywhere. It goes back. Things like this happen all the time. A lot of times, once it's implemented, it's there forever. And a good example of that was back in 2001, 2002, after 9/11. I don't know if any of you recall when they began charging for your checked bags, $25 or $30, whatever it is. And it was supposed to be temporary. It was related. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was related to fuel costs, things like that. Maybe helping the airlines after that weird time to recoup some cash, recoup some money, and get themselves back in track and all that. But that was supposed to be temporary. And fine, I get it. If there was something major and catastrophic that happened that affected the industry, one that we love to use because we like to travel, we like to get around, we have this luxury that in human history most people never experienced, that we can just purchase a ticket and in a matter of hours be in another country. It's amazing if you think about it. You sit in a chair in the fucking sky, like what's his name said, Louis C.K. You just were in a chair in the sky. Like, think about that. Like, yeah. So, anyways, not to get too off base, but like they said that those charges were temporary, but they never went away, and they're here to stay. Obviously, it's been over 20 years, and you're still paying unless you have some sort of loyalty program with an airline. You're paying for your checked bags now, and that's going to be forever. And now here we are with this tip culture after a catastrophic time or a time of unprecedented time, whatever you want to call it. And now this tip culture is here, and it's always costing us money, it seems. So I don't see this going anywhere. But again, we have the choice, at least on this one. You don't have a choice with the airlines. You just got to pay that check bag fee unless you do something different. But here we are. So that's a really good way to look at it, and it does make sense to me that this kind of became a thing as technology and this pandemic went down, and now here we are with tip screens every which way. And that's the reason number 2 is technology plus the power of the nudge. Now you turn the screen and there's social pressure on you to go ahead and tip. And like I said before in the episode, the tip jar was kind of just off to the side. It wasn't like the person at the register took the jar and put it in your face and said, "Here, put something in this." They never did that before. And now this is basically just part of the process, and you have to make a decision before you continue with your order. So I think that's a good term for it. The famous word for that is nudging. If you have a system like that leads you to do something, it feels like a choice, but isn't. It is a choice technically, but I mean, whatever. It's getting out of hand is what most people are saying here. Out of hand maybe, but people are making some serious money. Square, the company behind a lot of electronic payment screens, get a cut of each transaction, including the tip. Ooh, there's something I didn't even know about. So there you go. Square is getting pieces of the tip. So this is, as you can see, not for the greater good. As usual, there is some corporation skimming off the top, making more money, taking it from you as you get triple taxed every which way by your government that hates you. No matter who is in charge of the government and running things, they don't like you. So stop thinking they do. And so like they're creating this software, encouraging big tips means more money for the company. So that's another thing. And also the donations. I'm going to go off on a short tangent. Like these places, they also tug at your heartstrings. Would you like to make a donation for St. Jude Children's Hospital? Or, you go to PetSmart to buy my dog food. And then would you like to donate $1 to homeless pets? It's like these, these high emotional things. And you feel like a dick saying no. Well, let me tell you something and help you feel a little bit better about this. I believe, and I've heard that these companies have already made their donations to these places, St. Jude's, whatever, animal welfare, and they've already made these donations. And what they're doing is refilling their what they've sent to them with your money. That's what they're doing. You're not like directly. When you say, okay, I'm going to give $1 to St. Jude's, that might make you feel nice and virtuous and everything like that. But that donation's already been made, and you're just actually filling the corporations' pockets back up from their donations that they want to be virtuous about. So it really does just come back to you. They're not just taking that sole dollar, and it's not just going directly to there like you think it is. It's already there, and it's going to be there whether you say $1 or not. It's basically a decision. Do you want to help fill the money that was given for the company and participate in that? So that's what that is. So if you want to think that way, if you're kind of like, I'm sick of these being pressured and guilted into these donations, they've already done it. Okay, go donate directly yourself. Then that's all you need to say to somebody if they ever give you shit. He's like, I do my own donations myself because I have more control over that, where my money goes. If I do this here on this little screen, I don't know where this dollar goes. So therefore, I do it myself. So listen, lady, don't look at me funny because I didn't donate to your charity. You donated already. Your company did already. You probably don't even know that because you're just working the register. Then again, nobody's ever given me a look for not doing it. So who cares? Just don't do it. Save your money. Hold it for yourself. And definitely be generous and put it somewhere that you know where it's going. You make that choice. As much control over our own money as we can is better than not. So the last thing is on this site here is the job market and inflation. Even though customers are complaining, businesses aren't fighting it because of the third man driver of tipflation, the job market. Jung says that restaurants, coffee shops, and other businesses have been competing tooth and nail for workers, luring them in with better benefits and higher pay. At the same time, businesses are trying to keep prices as low as possible, with price-sensitive customers reacting to any sign of inflation. So again, here we go. So like that's kind of what we said before too, that, you know, to keep the prices down, we're going to just, you know, see if we can keep workers with tips and keep them happy that way. So I kind of had a little bit of a, I don't want to say mind shift, because I don't know how to put it, but yeah, I get it. I see it, that can be a way to keep people working and going that way without having to raise the menu prices. And it always trickles down to us anyways, but we are given the choice to do it rather than having the menu prices posted. And, you know, you're not going to go to your coffee shop and haggle those prices. You can click no tip. Again, whether you think that's right or wrong is your opinion. And based on what you think these people are doing. So that's sort of, that article right there. It goes on a little bit further, but with inflation on the rise, we can expect to see more of these fees and charges and tips and things added on in other fashions. And as you can see too, Square is getting their cut from tips. So having that software in place, putting it more into your face, is benefiting them financially. So remember all of that when you're up there and you're doing that. And it might seem small because it's like $1 here and there, but like this shit adds the fuck up. It really does. And, you know, I went on social media like I like to do sometimes, because sometimes it's can be a toxic place. And I asked what you guys thought about the tipping culture now here in the United States in particular. So I'm going to pull up those responses here right now and just kind of read those off quickly and give my thoughts. So Fit Travel Eats, she says, it's gotten ridiculous. It should be earned and not requested. I can get down with that. We've talked about that. It makes sense. We should be earning those tips and going above and beyond to do that. But the inflation style of life here is saying otherwise. But that's a good way to look at it. I agree. Geo the Great, I don't tip when I order at the drive-thru or picking up, only for delivery or for wait services. I think that's most people's thought process on that, because we are sitting in our homes and someone's bringing us something and we're not doing anything. They're doing it all at a X amount of rate. It's to give them something extra. I can see that's good. Instacart, I'll give a tip. They bring groceries to your house. If you do that, sometimes if you're in a time crunch, it's very helpful. As well as your Uber Eats driver or whatever else. I can see that. Jojo Skeeb says, I can't stand that it asks me when I pick up my dinner. Then I feel guilty if I don't. See, that's the guilt trip part of it right there. Jojo Skeebs is probably tipping when she doesn't want to. But if you're listening, just don't. Stop. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I know it's hard, but just forget it. Becky DeStefano, too. I've worked food service. Tips matter. I agree. I've worked it, too. And it does, in a sense. And especially when you're serving a table, bartending, yes, tips do matter, because that profession is history without those. We are not Europe. We are not Japan. We are the United States here. And if you want to get a job in food service, you are working for tips. It's known. It's the way it is, whether we like it or not. That's just how it goes. Okay. Azia Pine says, tip your hairdresser generously. I don't have hair. I'm bald. So I don't know what that is. If that's something that to do, I know people tip their hairdresser. So I guess do that. I have no further, I've been bald for 15 years. And before that, I had a friend cutting my hair. And I just give her cash before that. So that was it. Prior to 2009, that's how I did it. So I don't know. Guess tip your hairdressers. Fuck it. Do it. All right. Wandering Woodsman. Restaurants are at an all-time high. Let's see if I can read this right. And meanwhile, people can't afford to buy food or rent. Okay. It goes on the shoulders of the consumer. Oh, there we go. Food or rent. A corporate, including, he just kind of keeps going. I'm reading it backwards. Let me restart that for the Wandering Woodsman here. It's gotten out of control. Employers are putting the burden of a living wage on the shoulders of the consumer. Corporate, including food and chain restaurants are at an all-time high, and meanwhile, people can't afford to buy food or rent. So yes, it is. That was a longer response. It went in 3. That's why I chopped it up there. It was in reverse order in my screen here, so I apologize for that. But the Wandering Woodsman, it makes a good point. But like we said before, yes, the company should pay better wages, but they're going to probably raise their prices. On the flip side of things, how much greed is there at the top? How rich is somebody getting, or small group of people getting off of these prices that they can probably afford to pay a better wage to their workers. But again, with the restaurants in that industry, we're too far ingrained in the tip culture over there. I don't think that's going to go away ever. And Laurel 13, it's like everyone wants a tip for everything. I mean, they do. Everyone wants money, so I get it. But yeah, not everyone's going to get that tip. Susan Michelle, let's see here. I just bought a 20-ounce bottle of Diet Pepsi, scanned and paid with a card. An employee stared, expecting a tip. Oof. I got a story for that after I read her other response. They want a tip for absolutely everything now, and it's out of control. I agree. So you and Laurel have said the same thing, and I actually want to share a quick story in between this because I have a similar story to what Susan here is saying. I was at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis recently. My girlfriend's son had a scrimmage football game on the field there. She's 10 years old. It was a cool experience, but the concessions were open and I needed to eat something after that 3.5-hour drive. So I got a pretzel and a hot dog, whatever shit food they have at the concessions, overpriced anyways, that and water. And, of course the screen came through and the tip screen showed up, and I clicked no tip, and I'm sorry, but I did, because all the pretzels are ready to go. They're in the little box. The hot dogs are sitting there wrapped up in foil, and I mean, I'm sorry. You pressed a button and grab something off of a counter. That's what you did, and I can't tip you for that. And then I said no tip, and then the woman looks at me and goes, "Where's my $100 tip?" And I'm just like, well, "Excuse me?" And I'm like, she was kind of joking, but I think she was also kind of giving me shit for not giving her a fucking tip. I mean, you can talk to the folks over at Lucas Oil Stadium who are charging, $6.50 for a fucking hot dog. So, I'm already paying out the ass just to eat shitty ass food that I don't even want. But I'm stuck here because you can't bring your own fucking food in. And that's what I'm subject to because you guys do that. And I don't like that in our culture, how we've kind of gotten at events. And I know it's what it is and we're all used to it. And we just expect it now. So to me, bitching sounds like it's nonsense, but why do we do that? Why is it so expensive to eat and have a drink at a venue? Because we're trapped in there, at airports, everything like that. We're trapped. They know, and they jack the prices up, and we just accept it. I can see doing it for alcohol to kind of keep things under control. Because if you start, putting out dollar beers at a concert venue, it's probably going to get weird and ugly and out of hand. So I can see why maybe you want to keep the alcohol charges up to reduce the amount of nonsense. All right, so the Hammer Fit says it's become expected for no reason. Tipping before service even happens at times. Oh, yeah. That's another thing I was thinking of, like adding a tip before the service even happens. Yeah, I don't know about that. I think that we need to wait and see what happens. How shitty you feel if you order something and then you give it, it asks for the tip, you do it, and then the service that comes is bullshit. So, yeah, I like that. The Hammer Fit put a good one out there saying that just tipping before the service happens is crap. Like, and that's what happened with my kiosk. Like, I'm ordering something, doing the work. They want the tip now. They haven't even done the service yet. Like, what if they fucking forgot my order and I'm standing there in front of the Dunkin' for 25 minutes waiting for 10 munchkins to show up, and just the person behind the thing doesn't care because they already got their tip. They're already getting paid. They don't care. So what incentive do they have besides getting yelled at by me? Okay, Fit Travel Eats, we read that one already. Oh, that was the end of them. That was it. Very good. Okay, that is the responses from Instagram. So as you can see, everyone kind of has the same thought process. We had a little extras added in there that I didn't even think about, like what FitHammer said over there about tipping before the service. I don't know about that. I don't know. You know who doesn't get tipped often that probably should? Maids at hotels. I mean, I think they get paid not a lot of money, and I think it's not that customary to tip the maids in hotels. I know people talk about it, but if you think about it, that's actually one of the most disgusting jobs to do. the way people, I mean, I'm relatively neat, and I just wouldn't want to clean up after myself either if I wasn't me. So I don't want to clean up after anybody. I just think going into somebody's like little lair after they've been living in it for a day or 2 or 3 or whatever it's been, tipping the maids is probably not a bad idea. However, nowadays it seems as if hospitality and housekeeping, it doesn't come to your room every night anymore. Like, remember, it used to be a thing, and I don't know how I feel about this because I have 2 ways of it, but like you used to get if you stayed in a hotel, you would get service. I mean, they used to do turn down service. Like, they used to come in and clean your room in the morning, and then I believe they even came at night and did like a turn down, like dimmed your lights, put like a chocolate on your pillow and shit. Like, did this actually happen, or is this like that Mandela effect to me? Was this really a thing? But anyways, so now they don't even come to your room. So it's like you got to make your own bed in there. And in a sense, I kind of like it because, I don't know, one of the things I hated a lot was like when I was just trying to like on vacation, laying around in a hotel room, you get someone knocking on the fucking door to make the beds and you're still just laying in there. You know, it's like, oh, come back later. Come back. Housekeeping. No, come back later, please. No. And then, they're just doing their job. They want to get their shit done. And then, then you sleep too long and, you don't get any service. Then you bitch. It's just like, no, we don't do it. You can call it. I think you can do it upon request or something like that. But I don't know how I feel about that. I really think that it's got its pros and cons. More pros, really. But anyways, I'm getting off track. So that's really everything. I just kind of wanted to see, like, I guess I like to offer some sort of solution. Not that I'm qualified to do that, but like going forward, what do we do about this tipping thing? I think the best thing we can do is understand that the tipping is your decision. Get rid of the guilt if you don't want to leave the tip. If you don't think it's warranted, don't do it. Just stop caring and let that become normal. Because the more we tip and don't want to against our will, it normalizes it and it becomes more expected, and these employees become more entitled. And they're just going to get tips for doing bare minimum. They're not going to go above and beyond, and we're going to have shit service everywhere we go. And we're going to all get frustrated. So we're going to end up paying more for shittier service. That's what we're going to do. So I don't know. Just don't be afraid, I say, to hit that no tip, especially if you're, watching your finances. You have to care about that because the barista at Starbucks or your local coffee shop, they don't give a fuck about you and where you're at with your finances. That's on you. Okay. Too much of this spread the wealth shit is going on. You got to focus on yourself and your finances. And that's the way to go. So do it if you think it's warranted. This is my opinion. Again, you don't have to listen to me. In some instances it is, sometimes it's not. Maybe start tipping a little bit less if you're going to do it more often. Instead of giving the standard like 20%, maybe start just giving 15% everywhere if you're going to do it more. But, you got to just assess your own finances, and each situation is a little different. For me, if it's at a counter and they're going to turn it around and turn around on an iPad and have a tip screen, I'm hitting no tip. Almost, I'd say 99.5% of the time, that's what I'm going to do. Just because I don't believe in it. But that's it. So I get it. We all need money. It's getting weird out there. And I know that taking on, to those of you in the fitness space, taking on a trainer, a nutrition coach it's very minimal. It's $7-8 a day, if that, if you really think about it, maybe less, depending on what services you need. So that's something I can help you with. And if you contact me, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, everywhere at MFS Wellness, email is mike@mfswellness.com. So definitely still doing the nutrition thing. You don't have to tip me. I don't want any tips. Okay. If you work with me, do not tip me. I don't want a tip. All right. I appreciate it. You can just say something nice if you want. That's fine. But I don't tip me. So you don't have to worry about tipping in this industry here. So anyways, that's it. I'm going to come back. I'm going to do some more with some guests coming up. I think we're going to have some good discussions. I'm trying to get a little more involved outside of health and fitness here, as you can see, just kind of talk about some other topics. If you have anything else, those same handles, just hit me up. If you want to be on the podcast, if you want to suggest a topic for me to ramble about, let me know. I'm all about the people. All about the people. So just let me know. And until then, have a great fall that's coming up. Stay healthy. Keep on your shit, and take your health as serious as you can. Thank you.